Beneath the concrete jungle of Manhattan, where millions walk every single day, lies a world that was never meant to be seen again. For decades, we believed that the skyscraper foundations had obliterated every trace of the past. But recent deep earth excavations have revealed something far more complex, and for some, deeply unsettling. It isn't just dirt and rock down there. It is a preserved record of a city that vanished, a layer of history that is now physically threatening the stability of the modern world above it. When engineers began digging deeper than ever before to secure the foundations of New York's newest ultra-slender towers, they expected to hit the famous Manhattan schist. Instead, they breached a forgotten layer of the island's soul. They found artifacts and structures that date back to a time when New York was a wild frontier. But they also discovered a silent, creeping enemy that has been hiding in the dark for centuries: water. Not just any water, but a complex, subterranean network of ancient streams and redirected rivers that are reclaiming their territory, turning the very soil beneath the city into a structural nightmare. The sheer scale of what lies beneath is staggering. As archaeologists join these construction teams, they realize that Manhattan is essentially a giant puzzle where the pieces don't quite fit anymore. Every time a new shovel hits the ground, we aren't just looking at history. We are looking at the environmental consequences of building a global metropolis on top of a swamp. The findings aren't terrifying because of ghosts or myths. They are terrifying because of the sheer physics and the weight of the city pressing down on a foundation that is increasingly under siege by its own past. Take, for example, the discovery of the Collect Pond area. Once a 48-acre freshwater lake, it was filled in the early 19th century due to extreme pollution. Today, that lake is still there, trapped in the soil, waiting for a crack in a foundation to re-emerge. This isn't just an archaeological curiosity. It is a multi-billion-dollar engineering crisis. The artifacts found in these damp, dark pockets tell a story of a city that grew too fast, burying its problems instead of solving them. We found everything from 18th-century leather shoes preserved in the anaerobic mud to the remains of entire ships that were used as landfill to expand the island's shoreline. But why does this matter to us now? Because the deeper we dig, the more we realize that the solid ground we trust is anything but solid. The interaction between these ancient buried structures and the modern infrastructure is creating a chemical and physical battleground. The salts and minerals from the old landfill, combined with the rising water tables, are creating corrosive environments that chew through standard concrete. This is why the latest findings emphasize a desperate need for advanced commercial waterproofing, not just to keep basements dry, but to prevent the very history of the city from dissolving the legs it stands on. Reports from various excavation sites suggest that the preservation of these items is almost supernatural. Because they have been sealed off from oxygen for centuries, everyday objects from the 1700s look like they were dropped yesterday. However, the moment they are exposed to the modern atmosphere, they begin to disintegrate. It's a race against time. Archaeologists want to document the findings, while developers are terrified of what these discoveries mean for their timelines and budgets. According to publicly available information, some of these finds are so significant they have the power to halt construction indefinitely, leading to a silent tension between the city's future and its buried truth. There is an eerie irony in the fact that the more we advance technologically, the more we are forced to reckon with the primitive mistakes of our ancestors. The early New Yorkers used whatever they had, garbage, old boats, even rubble from fires, to create the land we now value at thousands of dollars per square foot. They built a world of luxury on a foundation of discarded history. Now, as we push the limits of architecture with towers that reach into the clouds, the pressure on those discarded materials is reaching a breaking point. The terrifying aspect isn't what we found, but the realization of how fragile the entire system truly is. Imagine standing in a basement, 5 stories below street level, hearing the muffled roar of the subway, and knowing that just 3 feet behind that concrete wall is an ancient stream that hasn't seen the sun in 200 years, exerting thousands of pounds of pressure against the structure. That is the reality of Manhattan today. Every high-rise is a dam, and the water is patient. It's a constant silent battle where the findings are warnings, reminders that nature eventually reclaims what was taken. The deeper the excavations go, the more we see the gerrymander of the underworld. Pipes from the 1800s made of hollowed-out logs are found running parallel to fiber optic cables. It's a chaotic intersection of eras. But it's the soil composition that has scientists worried. The organic matter from these old layers is decomposing, releasing gases and shifting in ways that weren't predicted in the original building codes of the 20th century. We are essentially building on a living, breathing, and decaying organism. What's even more fascinating is how these findings challenge our timeline of the city's development. Some excavations have turned up evidence of sophisticated drainage systems and indigenous land management that predates the colonial grid. It suggests that the people who lived here before us understood the island's hydrology much better than the developers of the 1800s. We ignored their wisdom, paved over the water, and now we are paying the price in the form of subsidence, the gradual sinking of the land. As we look at the data, the question shifts from "what did we find?" to "what do we do next?" The findings have forced a total revolution in how we think about urban sustainability. If we can't control the water and the shifting soil beneath Manhattan, the iconic skyline faces a future of astronomical maintenance costs and structural vulnerabilities. The terrifying reality is that the city is in a constant state of repair, fighting a war against the very ground it occupies. The story of what lies beneath Manhattan is a reminder that nothing is ever truly buried. History has a way of surfacing, usually at the most inconvenient and expensive times. We wanted to build the tallest, the strongest, and the most modern city in the world, and we did. But we did it on a foundation that is increasingly proving to be a liability. The artifacts we pull from the mud are beautiful, yes, but they are also symptoms of a larger, systemic issue that New York is only now beginning to address. The deeper we go, the more we find that the past isn't just behind us, it's literally under us, pushing back. And as the sea levels rise and the island settles, that pressure is only going to increase. This isn't just about New York, it's a blueprint for every coastal city in the world. We are all building on the remains of what came before, and eventually, the bill comes due. Understanding the complexity of Manhattan's underground is just the first step. The real challenge lies in how we adapt our future to accommodate a past that refuses to stay hidden. If the findings under New York have taught us anything, it's that we are not the masters of this land. We are merely its current tenants, and the landlord is starting to ask questions. But New York isn't the only city with a dark, watery secret hiding beneath its streets. Across the Atlantic, another major metropolis is facing a similar reckoning, but for a completely different reason. While New York is fighting ancient streams, this city is literally being swallowed by its own architectural ambition. If you think the findings under Manhattan are intense, you need to see the other videos on our channel.